The meaning of the movie author Orpheus to read for minutes published 4.03. 2020 updated 4.03. 2020 Dante's Peak is a disaster movie that was released in 1997. Its creator is a New Zealand director Roger Donaldson. In the main role we can see a wonderful famous actor Pete Brosnan. This is one of the most impressive disaster movies, mesmerizing, frightening, intriguing. It keeps you in suspense until the very end, makes you nervous and worried. Dante's Peak, the background to the disaster. Dante's Peak is a pretty little town with hot springs, mountains and verdant forests. The main character of the movie is Harry Dalton. He is a volcanologist scientist. In the past, when there was a volcanic eruption, his wife died. To somehow distract himself from his grief and loneliness, Harry decides to do routine work. He goes to the northwest coast of the United States in the town of Dante's Peak. This town is located right at the foot of the volcano, which, by all accounts, has long been no danger to the locals. It is in this town Harry Dalton performs a boring, uninteresting and monotonous work, investigates the seismic situation. The volcano has long been asleep, and no one can not think that something terrible can happen. But by some signs it becomes clear that the volcano may very likely be about to awaken. A geothermal spring near the town suddenly boils water. Young people walking in the vicinity, by a fatal accident decided to bathe in it and died. The water in many springs began to heat up and boil. Animals began to die for no reason in the neighborhood, and the acidity of the water began to increase rapidly. The scientists' data are unambiguous: disaster can happen. But city officials are not taking these claims seriously. Harry Dalton has an affair with the town's mayor, Rachel Wendo. Only she agrees with his warnings about the danger of the volcano. But they fail to convince the others that the town must be evacuated immediately. After a week of exploration, the volcanologists began to wind down their equipment. The study of Dante's Peak has come to an end. Dalton is also about to leave the city. But suddenly he discovers the presence of a pungent odor of sulfur dioxide in the glass of water he has drawn from the tap. He takes Rachel and together they rush to the waterworks. There they realize that the Dante's Peak volcano could erupt at any second. For Harry, the most boring job suddenly becomes a sensation. Catastrophe, which threatens not only the town in which the events unfold, but the entire continent, must be prevented as soon as possible, to take all possible measures. Volcanic eruption. The eruption began as the population was being prepared for evacuation and the plan was being explained to them. The massive destruction frightened the people and uncontrollable panic set in. Rachel's mother-in-law lived in a cabin on the town's outskirts. The mayor's children rushed to save their grandmother. They drove to her on their own. Rachel and Harry were unable to leave town with the others as soon as possible. They were forced to drive in the opposite direction, to help the children and their mother-in-law. They were able to catch up with them in the SUV near Ruth's house. The way back was blocked. A landslide made the road unusable. It was decided to escape across the river by boat. But the eruption turned the river water into acid, corroding the bottom of the only means of transportation. Everyone was able to jump to the ground, but Ruth's leg was badly injured during the jump. She could not save herself, her body was corroded by the acid. How the movie Dante's Peak ends. The National Guard arrived. They evacuated the town and the volcanic scientists. The children, Harry and Rachel, had to return to the already evacuated town. They didn't have time to find a safe place and hide from the lava flow. The cave became their hiding place from the pyroclastic flow. Fortunately, Harry remembered that he had managed to bring an emergency sensor with him. Only thanks to this sensor, the rescuers were able to find and free the rescued heroes.